Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbale in Lagos. It's a trying time for people all over the world with the coronavirus disease ravaging the world and has now changed the way of life of billions of people. Many people have now resorted to staying at home. Even in Nigeria, that order is now in effect. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has confirmed 3 new cases of COVID-19 in Lagos, putting the total figure of cases confirmed in Nigeria at 30. The latest figure was announced on the NCDC Twitter handle with a breakdown showing that 30 of the cases have been confirmed, 28 active and 2 already discharged. The NCDC says 2 of the cases are returning travelers and 1 is a contact of a confirmed case. So far, 2 have been discharged with no record of death. Meanwhile, Oyo State government in the southwest region of the country also announced its first case of coronavirus after a confirmation test carried out on a suspect case came back positive. All 3 cases reported in Lagos State have histories of travel to high-risk countries in the last 7 days. According to the NCDC, of the 27 confirmed cases, 2 have been discharged, including the Italian index case with no deaths recorded so far. The Oyo State Governor, Fayemi, also says that a recent returnee from the U.S. has been identified at Oluyole local government area of the state and kept in self-isolation with close monitoring by the state's epidemiological team. Well, the Lagos State government briefed the public today and has asked public officers from grade level 1 to 12 to stay at home for the next 14 days as a precaution to contain the spread of coronavirus in the state. And here is the governor making that pronouncement today.
I'm now hereby also directing that all public officers in the entire unified public service from grade level 1 to 12, which constitute about 70% of our entire public workforce, should stay at home from Monday, 23rd March 2020 for 14 days at the first instance. We'll review this as time goes on. Members of the public are advised to refrain from visiting any of our public offices and to transact such businesses as is possible, that we can do this on the phone or online channels. This stay at home does not affect all of our first responders, meaning the medical personnel are still meant to be at their duty post. Our fire service, members of the Lagos State Emergency Management Authority, LOMA, and other essential services are not affected by this directive. We're working to wrap up our capacity to take on new cases as they are confirmed. Other health facilities will in due time be deployed to support the mainland infectious disease hospital. In fact, to mention that we have evacuated other patients out of that hospital, and so the hospital will be locked down only for the COVID-19 cases alone. And so we're wrapping up also the infrastructure and the renovation in that particular hospital to be able to take additional patients. We're also setting up additional facilities at both at Bagada General Hospital, and we've also identified locations in our 5 Ibile division around the state, just so in the event that we need to wrap up isolation center at the various locations outside of the infectious disease center in Yaba. More health workers are also being trained and retrained, and we've put on notice some of our retired nurses and doctors who we believe will come at this very time to support our health personnel who are working so tirelessly at this time.
That's the governor of Lagos, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, earlier today, briefing on what the Lagos State government is doing to curb the spread of coronavirus. Well, it's not only in Lagos that incidents testing has been going on. In some parts of the country, it has been going on. And also, the Nigeria Governors Forum are concerned, and they have inaugurated a 7-man committee led by the governor of Kaduna State, Madam Nasir El-Rufai, to advise the state on the best preventive measures to take and also recommend a set of action required to address the economic challenges posed by the outbreak of COVID-19. The governors also agreed to set up functional test and isolation centers across the state to complement what the federal government is doing. Now, let's is a health emergency across the world, and of course in Nigeria, because there's been some decisions made by the federal government of Nigeria, including closing down any form of international travels from Monday, and also making sure that anyone who comes into the country are being tested and goes into self-isolation for 14 days. These are some of the policies being made in the last few days by the federal government of Nigeria. Suspension of visa on arrival, reduction in price of fuel from 145 naira to 125 naira, ban on foreign trips by government officials, and CBN has also approved some money. We understand that the intervention will be over 1 trillion naira. So the implications is dire in several parts of the world. In the United States, we understand that the government there is making decision on giving some cushioning finances to citizens there. In Germany, in Italy, Spain, and the rest of the world, there are decisions being made. In Nigeria, the federal government is also making decisions. Let's get a sense of what this means for Nigeria, especially in the federating units, and what the governors of these states are doing. Let's speak to the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum and the governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Fayemi, who joins us from Ado Ekiti via Skype. Thank you so much, Governor Fayemi, for joining us tonight. It is a war. These are some of the words that are being used to describe coronavirus, which is a pandemic around the world. So the WHO has described it. But as it stands right now, is a very tough time for government and officials of government, leaders across the world. From the point of view of the Governors Forum, how are you taking this issue, and what is your first point of action as governors?
Well, thank you very much, Sharon, for having me on your program. You already mentioned the fact that we set up a 7-person committee to look at this comprehensively and also look at the implications for the Nigerian economy. And that committee has already started work. And one of the things that also happened in order to ensure that it's not just at the level of states, but that we're cooperating with the federal government at the National Economic Council on Thursday, last Thursday, we agreed a joined-up strategy with the federal government to expand that committee, and we met immediately after that National Economic Council in the office of the Vice President. That committee is working. States are also taking up actions that are necessary, setting up isolation centers, preparing to get the materials, personal protective equipment, sanitizers, a range of other equipment that may be necessary for this situation we found ourselves. And I think we must also narrow it. One of the things we're doing at the Governors Forum to narrow. I'm not sure you're hearing me.
Yeah, I can get you clearly. These are extraordinary times. Absolutely. These are extraordinary times, Governor Fayemi, which has put governments across the world to task on how the citizens are going to survive in the face of order of stay-at-home orders, and also tighten the belt in terms of what the economy is now calling for. Some kind of slump also has happened to the price of oil, which is a mainstay of our economy. There are also fears that some state governors may not be able to pay salaries. The federal government may feel the pinch and the crunch of that also, and difficulty in the coming weeks of paying salaries. Did the governors think about it? Did you talk about this? And what was the resolution in this regard?
Well, naturally, Sheon, I don't want you to create any panic in the mind of Nigerians. We are here as the elected governors to really focus on what we can do to ameliorate the conditions of the citizens of Nigeria. The committee that we set up would come up with measurable recommendations that can help us with improving the economic situation. Clearly, there is a challenge. We cannot pretend that things would be normal. We have to estimate that given current circumstances, we may even find ourselves in a situation where the price of oil goes right down to $20 a barrel. And that clearly will call for a review of state budgets as well as the federal budget. And it would call for a reprioritization of our own economic vehicles. The central bank has already taken some steps which are, in my view, appropriate, but we still need to do more in order to create the fiscal stimulus that will be necessary to cushion the effect of these difficult times. And even where we're asking workers to stay at home, their salaries will not stop. We're asking them to stay at home with the exigencies of the.
Yeah, it's very it's a tough time
I
in
don't
the.
want a situation in which.
Go ahead, please.
I beg your pardon, I didn't hear
Please go
that.
ahead. There was a glitch there at some point, so we couldn't get the last part of what you said. So I wanted you to continue with what you were saying. Okay, let's Governor
Poor
Fayemi.
connection.
Yes, it was a pretty tough one there. But let's look at some other issues. The stay-at-home order is in effect in Lagos from Monday. The shutting down of some facilities just to ensure that people keep safe. But in the face of what you painted, the scenario of what you painted, economically speaking, when unfortunately, if that comes to effect, when price of oil goes to about $20, as against what we envisaged before the 2020 budget was designed at about almost $60, that's going to be a lot of difference there. But as state governors, is there any, because we understand that the sovereign wealth fund and also the excess crude account is depleted. What are you going to fall back on? Because some states, we understand that we may be having some difficulty getting to Governor Fayemi, but we will get back to him. Okay, I understand now that we have Governor Kayode Fayemi back with us. The question a lot of people want to know, especially workers, now they're asking people to stay at home. We understand with the new figures that we're getting about the economy and how difficult things might be, and the fact that we need to tighten our belts. At the level of the Governors Forum, did you envisage that there might be difficulties in paying salaries? Should that happen at the end of the month, what happens to the workers?
Well, Sean, thank you very much. I'm sorry about the technological challenges that we've had to face. The important thing for governors is to ensure that we make life conducive for the citizens, particularly the workers who daily toil for our various states. So if we ask anyone to go on to work from home, it's not an abdication of responsibility from the governors. It's a protective mechanism to avoid the spread of these contagion that we are all dealing with. And any state where that is done, it is clear that the workers will continue to earn their salaries, whether they are home or at work. As to the economic implications of COVID on the global economy and the effect of that on our country's economy, well, it's a collective challenge. It's something that we have to look at critically. We have to cut our coat according to our cloth rather than our size, and we have to review all aspects of the economy, including payment of salaries to workers. That's a reality we must face, but we must also ensure that there is enough fiscal stimulus that can help cushion the effect of this negative impact on the economy.
So, in essence, Governor Fayemi, some governments in some parts of the world are saying give and take, people should stay at home. The government of Nigeria is saying people should stay at home for about 3 weeks or 1 month. Should this situation continue, how long do you think that we can have this kind of situation on our hands before things start getting bad? In essence, my question is that how prepared are the governors for the raining day, the Hamilton that we're seeing looming?
Well, the truth of the matter is that there is limited buffer, given the challenges the economy is already experiencing even before COVID-19 came on the scene. However, there is enough realization at the level of the governors and at the level of the federal government that we may need to take measures to protect the citizens, including what might end up being a health emergency fund to address the challenges that people are facing, or even a bailout fund to address the decline in the oil prices. As I indicated earlier, it is not unlikely that we may even get down to $20 a barrel. And when you compare that vis-a-vis a budget that has been benchmarked at $57 a barrel, clearly that's a $37 reduction per barrel, and that's bound to have a telling effect on the economies of states as well as the federal government. And that would reflect on recurrent expenditure, on capital spending. But right now, our priority is recurrent expenditure. A lot of states will cut down on the capital because, except the critical infrastructure capital, we need to keep afloat and we need to maintain salaries at the level that would at least reduce the pressure on the population.
Thank you so much, Governor Fayemi, the chairman of the Governors Forum and Governor of Ekiti said. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts there.